There's a moment, a quiet, lonely moment, when no one is watching, no applause, no validation, just you and a choice. Most people wait for motivation, for inspiration, for someone to give them permission. They wait until it's easy, until it's convenient, until the stars align. But that moment rarely comes, and that's the difference. See, the people we admire, the ones who seem to stand taller, go farther, live deeper, they're not superhuman. They've simply mastered something most people resist. They've forced themselves to do what no one else will. When it's cold and dark and no one's awake, they show up. When it's uncomfortable, unfamiliar, terrifying, they lean in. When everyone else quits, they stay one more hour, one more rep, one more call. Why? Because the habit of doing what others won't becomes the identity of someone who achieves what others can't. It's not about discipline for discipline's sake. It's about becoming the kind of person who leads from within, who doesn't need the world to cheer them on because their purpose is louder than the noise of comfort. The hard truth is this: success, fulfillment, leadership, they aren't built in public. They're built in the quiet hours when you force yourself to write, when you're tired, to study, when it's boring, to train when you're sore, to speak up when it's uncomfortable. Everyone wants to live a meaningful life. But not everyone is willing to do what a meaningful life demands. So force yourself. Force yourself to wake up when your mind says 5 more minutes. Force yourself to try again when you've failed a dozen times. Force yourself to say yes when your fear screams no, not because it's easy, but because it matters. We all want to make an impact, but impact doesn't come from doing what's expected. It comes from doing what's avoided. The best leaders in the world aren't just smarter or more talented. They simply had the courage to step forward when everyone else stepped back. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for perfect timing. Don't wait for someone else to go first. You go, you lead, you force yourself to do the thing nobody will, and that's how you become someone the world can't ignore. Most people wait for motivation. They wait for a spark, for the right moment, for the wave of energy that makes everything feel effortless. But motivation is unpredictable. It comes and goes. It can't be relied upon when life gets hard, when goals feel far away, or when fear creeps in. Discipline, however, is different. Discipline doesn't depend on how you feel. It doesn't care if you're tired, uninspired, or afraid. Discipline is a decision, a commitment to act regardless of your emotional state. The truth is, the people who succeed the most aren't the ones who are constantly fired up or inspired every day. They're the ones who show up anyway. When the alarm goes off at 5 a.m. and their body screams for more sleep, they get up. When it's time to train and every muscle aches, they go. When rejection shows up again and again, they still make the call, write the page, take the step. They've trained themselves to act when it's hard, and that is the real secret. Motivation is emotional. It's exciting. It's the feeling you get after watching a great speech or reading an inspiring quote. But it's temporary. It fades the moment discomfort enters the picture. Discipline is not emotional. It's practical. It is built through repetition. It's about showing up so many times that quitting becomes harder than continuing. Ask yourself, what do you do when no one's watching? What do you do when there's no applause, no recognition, no instant reward? That's where discipline lives. It's easy to move when everyone's clapping. It's harder to move when no one sees your effort, but that's exactly where greatness is built. The gym is empty early in the morning because most people don't want to suffer in silence. The library is quiet at night because most people would rather scroll than study. The winners in life, not just in sports or business, but in meaning and fulfillment, are the ones who decided their values were more important than their mood. The power of discipline is that it builds trust, not with others, but with yourself. Every time you do the hard thing you didn't feel like doing, you send a message to your mind: I can rely on me. That self-trust compounds. Over time, your identity shifts. You go from being someone who wants to change to someone who does change. And the irony is, the more disciplined you become, the more motivation you feel. Why? Because results create motivation. Small wins, even tiny ones, give you momentum. You don't wait to feel good to act. You act, and then the feeling follows. People who rely on motivation stay stuck in a cycle of inconsistency. They do a little when they feel like it, then stop when they don't. Years go by and nothing changes. But people who live with discipline build brick by brick, day by day, until the vision in their mind becomes the reality they stand in. This isn't about perfection. It's not about never missing a step. It's about building a mindset that says, I do the work even when it's not exciting. That mindset doesn't just create success, it builds character, resilience, and freedom. Because when you're no longer controlled by how you feel in the moment, you become unstoppable. Discipline is hard, but so is regret. So is feeling stuck. So is wondering what could have been. Choose your hard, and choose the one that builds something real. Real growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It doesn't happen when the cameras are rolling or when the applause is loud. It happens in quiet, ordinary moments when no one is paying attention. True growth is forged in solitude, in the early mornings, the late nights, the missed parties, and the hours of practice when most people are asleep or distracted. It happens when there's no praise, no recognition, and often no progress you can immediately see. The problem is, we live in a world obsessed with visibility. Social media tells us that if it's not shared, it didn't happen. But the truth is, the most meaningful transformation takes place behind closed doors. It happens when you decide to keep going, even though you feel invisible. It happens when you're working on something important, and no one understands it, not your friends, not your family, maybe not even yourself, but still you choose to stay committed. That kind of growth is invisible at first. It's not flashy or glamorous. It doesn't get likes or comments. It looks like early mornings filled with repetition. It looks like rejection, failure, silence, and doubt. But with each of those moments, something internal shifts. You become stronger, more focused, more resilient. You learn to rely on yourself, not on approval. You start showing up, not because someone's watching, but because you've decided who you want to become. The gym sessions when you're alone, the journaling when you're lost, the reading when you could be scrolling, the quiet decision to try again after failing for the 10th time. That's growth, and it matters more than any performance in front of a crowd, because it's real, it's not designed for attention, it's built for transformation. Think about a seed in the ground. No one sees what's happening under the soil. It's buried, hidden. But something powerful is taking place. Roots are forming. Structure is developing. Strength is being created beneath the surface. And one day when it breaks through, people call it growth. But the real growth, that happened long before anyone could see it. You don't become great in the moment you're recognized. You become great in the 1,000 moments when no one saw the work. No one saw you struggling with self-doubt. No one saw you waking up at 5 a.m. or staying up until midnight, doing the work again and again. And yet those are the moments that define your path. That's where your mindset is built. That's where your character is shaped. We often think success is about being discovered, but true success is about what you build before anyone notices. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need validation to stay disciplined. It's about mastering the ability to work through discomfort, boredom, and frustration without needing a trophy at the end of each effort. True growth is not exciting. It's not a highlight reel. It's not a viral video. It's boring. It's quiet. It's repetitive. But it's also everything. Because when the world finally sees your results, the strength, the clarity, the confidence, you'll know the truth. None of it was luck. It was earned, quietly, when no one was clapping. So if you're in a season where no one sees your progress, keep going. If you feel invisible, keep going. If you wonder if it's even working, keep going. Growth is slow, it's private, but it's real, and one day, it will show. But by then you won't even need the recognition. Because the real reward will be who you've become. Who you are is shaped, not by what you say you'll do, but by what you actually do when it's hard, inconvenient, or unpopular. The choices you make, especially the ones that most people avoid, are what form your identity. Every time you do the thing others won't, you cast a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. And over time, those votes accumulate. They become your habits become your values, and your values define your identity. Most people want similar things. They want success, respect, strength, peace, growth. But very few are willing to do what those things require, because it's uncomfortable. It demands sacrifice. It demands consistency. It demands saying no to short-term pleasure in favor of long-term progress. And that's exactly why those who are willing to do what others won't stand out, not just in results, but in who they are. You build mental toughness, not by talking about it, but by doing the hard things repeatedly, waking up early to train when your body says no, studying longer when everyone else is done, making the call, taking the risk, speaking up when staying silent would be easier. Every time you choose the harder path, the path of resistance, you become someone who trusts themselves more. You become someone who doesn't shrink under pressure because you've trained yourself to grow through it. Identity isn't something you find, it's something you build, and it's built most powerfully through action. When you do the thing nobody wants to do, the extra rep, the difficult conversation, the lonely work, you start seeing yourself differently. You stop seeing yourself as average. You stop comparing yourself to others. You start respecting yourself. That's where real confidence comes from. Earned self-respect. Most people choose what's easy because they're afraid of what discomfort will reveal. But the people who rise above that fear, who embrace the discomfort, are the ones who build something real inside themselves. Not just achievements, but character, grit, integrity. They become the kind of person who doesn't quit when things get messy. And here's the paradox. The more often you do what others won't, the less you'll need approval from anyone else, because you won't be acting to impress. You'll be acting in alignment with who you've decided to be. You'll no longer wait to feel like doing something. You'll do it because that's who you are. That's your standard. You start to shift from chasing results to embodying value. You don't just want to be disciplined. You are disciplined. You don't just try to lead. You are a leader, not because someone gave you the title, but because you consistently did the work when others chose excuses. It's not about being better than anyone else. It's about being better than who you were yesterday. It's about proving to yourself that you can take control of your life, your choices, your path. And the way you do that is by refusing to take the easy way out, by doing the uncomfortable, difficult, thankless work again and again until it becomes your normal. Eventually, the things that once felt impossible become your routine, and that routine becomes your identity. So while others are waiting for the right mood, the right moment, or the right motivation, you're already moving because you've trained yourself to do what others won't, and in the process, you become someone most people never will. Comfort feels good in the moment, but it costs more than we realize. It's easy to choose comfort. It's everywhere, in our routines, our excuses, our distractions, but comfort doesn't challenge you. It doesn't stretch you. It doesn't call you to grow. If you want to build a life that actually means something, your purpose has to speak louder than your desire to stay safe. Purpose is the reason you keep showing up, even when it's hard. It's the reason you choose action over delay, discipline over ease, long-term growth over short-term pleasure. Without purpose, it's easy to drift, to procrastinate, to make excuses. But when your purpose is clear and powerful, it cuts through the noise. It gives meaning to the struggle. It reminds you that the pain you're going through now is part of building something better. Every single day we're faced with a decision: chase comfort or chase purpose. Comfort says, hit snooze. Comfort says, take the shortcut. Comfort says, don't speak up, don't risk anything, don't push too hard. But purpose says otherwise. Purpose reminds you why you start. It's the voice inside you saying you were made for more than this. And that voice has to be louder. The people who live meaningful lives aren't superhuman. They've simply learned to listen to the right voice. They've trained themselves to act based on purpose, not feeling. Because feelings are unreliable. They change with the weather, but purpose stays steady. Purpose is anchored in your values, your beliefs, your vision for what you want your life to stand for. If you let comfort guide your decisions, you'll never leave your current level. You'll settle for average. You'll live in the space between what you're capable of and what you're currently doing. And over time, that space becomes regret. But when your purpose is louder, it forces you to grow into the person that purpose requires. Purpose makes you uncomfortable, and that's a good thing. It forces you to stretch. It pushes you to evolve. It demands that you confront your fears, your laziness, your limits. Purpose doesn't care how tired you are. It asks, is this worth it to you? And if your answer is yes, you'll find a way. You see, comfort is addictive. It convinces you that staying where you are is safe. But in reality, staying in the same place is often the most dangerous thing you can do, because the world moves forward with or without you. And if you stay still, you're not safe. You're falling behind. You don't grow by avoiding discomfort. You grow by walking straight into it, fueled by something bigger than yourself. When your purpose is strong enough, discipline becomes easier, focus becomes sharper, distractions lose their power. You stop negotiating with yourself every time things get hard. You stop quitting when the process gets boring. You stop chasing validation from others and start chasing alignment with yourself. Purpose gives your pain meaning. It turns your setbacks into lessons. It turns your doubts into fuel. When you live with purpose, you don't just wake up.
You rise with intention. You don't just work. You create. You don't just survive. You lead. So, when the comfort of doing nothing feels louder than the voice calling you to do more, ask yourself, what am I really building here? What kind of life do I want to look back on? One shaped by comfort, or one shaped by conviction? Let your purpose lead. Let it be the loudest voice in the room. Because when purpose becomes louder than comfort, you won't just change your habits, you'll change your life. Leadership isn't a title, it's not something you're given, it's something you choose, and the choice is made through action, not words. At the heart of every real leader is courage, not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. Leadership begins the moment you decide to step forward when everyone else holds back. It begins when you choose to take responsibility, not because it's easy, but because it's right. The world doesn't need more people who wait for permission. It needs people who are willing to raise their hand and say, I'll go first. That's what courage looks like. Not a lack of doubt, but the decision to move anyway. It's easy to lead when the path is clear and the risks are low. But real leadership is tested in uncertainty, in conflict, in challenge. That's where character shows itself. Too many people think leadership is about having all the answers, but leadership isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about showing up when it's uncomfortable, speaking the truth when it's unpopular, and making decisions when there's no guarantee of success. Courage is required because leadership often means standing alone, doing what's right, not what's easy. If you wait until you're fearless, you'll never lead. Courage is not about eliminating fear, it's about moving through it. Every courageous leader has felt the weight of doubt. Every courageous leader has questioned themselves, but what sets them apart is that they act anyway. They care more about the mission than their comfort, more about impact than approval, more about growth than image. Leadership starts in small moments. It's saying what needs to be said when silence would be safer. It's admitting a mistake when pretending would protect your ego. It's being the one to step up when everyone else is frozen in hesitation. These aren't grand acts, but they build trust, they create momentum, and they inspire others to act with the same courage. The truth is, people don't follow titles, they follow courage, they follow conviction. They follow the person who moves with purpose, not just the one who talks about it. When people see you doing the hard thing, they believe in their ability to do the hard thing too. That's the ripple effect of courageous leadership. It multiplies, and it's not just about leading others, it's about leading yourself, making tough decisions when no one's watching. Choosing integrity over convenience, pushing yourself when excuses would be easier. The most powerful form of leadership is self-leadership, because you can't guide others through storms you haven't walked through yourself. Courageous action is also about vulnerability. It's about being honest, even when the truth is messy. It's about asking for help when your instinct is to pretend you're fine. It's about sharing your vision, even if you're not sure how to get there. That kind of transparency doesn't make you weak, it makes you human, and people connect with what's human. No one becomes a leader in theory. Leadership is built in the moments of decision, when fear shows up, and you act anyway. When everything in you says, stay quiet, play it safe, and you choose to step forward instead, those are the moments that define your legacy. So lead, not because you feel ready, but because you believe in something bigger than your fear. Lead, because someone has to go first, and that someone can be you. Let your actions speak louder than your doubts, because in the end, leadership doesn't begin with confidence, it begins with courage. Most people spend their lives waiting for the right time, the right opportunity, the right support, or the right mood. They wait for someone else to go first, to speak up, to start the project, to chase the dream. But if you always wait, you surrender your power. Growth doesn't come to the person who waits, it comes to the one who moves, the one who acts, the one who decides that they don't need permission to begin. Going first isn't about ego, it's about leadership. It's about being willing to take the first step into uncertainty, knowing that others might follow, or they might not. It's about having the courage to break the silence in a room full of hesitation, to be the first to raise your hand, the first to try, the first to risk being wrong, because someone has to go first. And when you choose to be that person, you set the tone for everything that follows. Waiting feels safe, but safety is often a disguise for fear. We wait because we don't want to fail. We wait because we don't want to be judged. We wait because we think we're not ready. But the truth is, you become ready through movement. Clarity doesn't come before the action. It comes from taking action. Every step you take teaches you something, and every lesson makes you stronger. Think about any breakthrough, any invention, any movement that changed the world. Someone had to go first. Someone had to step out without knowing what would happen. Someone had to risk being laughed at, criticized, or misunderstood. But they went anyway, and because they went, doors opened that never would have opened if they had waited. Going first builds confidence, not because it guarantees success, but because it proves something to yourself, that you are capable of facing discomfort, that you can handle uncertainty, that you don't need to be carried, you can lead, and that self-trust you develop becomes one of your most powerful assets. Waiting also sends a message to the world. I'll act when it's safe. But going first sends a different message. I'm willing to take responsibility. And that message inspires people. It doesn't matter if you're leading a company, a family, or just yourself. When you go first, you invite others to rise. Sometimes, going first looks like starting a business no one believes in. Sometimes, it looks like apologizing first in a broken relationship. Sometimes, it's being the first to admit you don't have all the answers. But whatever it is, going first is always a choice to lead with action instead of waiting for comfort or consensus. There will always be reasons to wait. There will always be fear, doubt, and uncertainty. But you don't grow by eliminating those things. You grow by facing them. And the fastest way to build momentum is to move. One step, one decision, one action. That's all it takes to change everything. So stop waiting, stop overthinking, stop hoping someone else will make the first move. Be the one who starts. Be the one who leads with courage, not convenience. Be the one who shows others what's possible by being bold enough to try. The clock is ticking. The world won't pause until you're ready. Life moves forward, with or without your permission. So go, not because it's easy, not because you're fully prepared, but because someone needs to lead. Someone needs to show up first, and that someone can be you.